A lot of things happened since the last time I posted here. I'll try to share as much as I can in this post. I don't sleep at night very well, so I use that time to write all of the encounters and experiences. I think that I might be on a good way in finding explanations about Evangeline's home and her. I made a small diary where I write everything down. It's really useful when there's a lot of things. Hopefully no one in this house finds it because I feel like it would only get me in trouble. You remember how I mentioned my mom is strict about not questioning the rules? She would probably scold me if she found the diary. She even became more strict towards Billy because she got us in trouble so many times. These days, I've been observing Evangeline more. After the bleeding walls in the blue room, I became more curious about her and that room. I would think about it all the time and getting chills down my spine when I imagine how could the creature behind it look like, and who's the female I heard. Maybe there are many creatures behind those doors, since that could be a logical explanation. Maybe they live there, but why would she keep them there? What's the point of it? So many questions but no answers. I couldn't calm myself, so I started to investigate more than ever. Things that I found for now could lead me on a good way of finding the answers. The blue room sparked the most interest in me after that day. I tried to peek at night to see if something goes in and out that door, but I wasn't able to open my bedroom door. That would be too dangerous because I would break the rules. I don't want to die in this place. I want to move out soon and live a normal life. I'll probably need years of therapy once I exit this place. I don't plan on coming back here when we leave, and you understand why. I started observing Evangeline more, watching her movements and behavior. It did raise more questions, but the more I looked, the more I got used to her unusual behavior and way of life. Sometimes she would notice me looking at her, which would result in her sending me a glance that would make me freeze. Those eyes were so empty that it's scary. It's like she had a power to make you scared of her with just one look. Watching her, I also caught her a couple of times entering the blue room, but I couldn't hear anything. Most of the time, she would bring food there, raw meat and other things. She knew I noticed, but I would pretend that I was walking towards my room. It's like she knew I'm too scared of her to say anything. The picture of her killing that kitten got engraved in my mind, and I could remember it every time my brain wanted to disobey her. The room we are forbidden from even approaching was making weird sounds from time to time. We could sometimes hear growling and voices of our loved ones, or any other voice. Once I was tricked that Jill called me from upstairs, but it was that room. "Amelia," Jill's voice called. I was downstairs playing with Cordelia for the first time ever. That cat allowed us to pet it, but most of the time she was really serious and cold like her owner. Also, I need to admit it that I was disgusted with her since she doesn't have fur. I thought it would be uncomfortable to touch her. "Yes, Jill?" I answered, looking at the direction of the voice. "Come here, please," she said, and I immediately got up from the floor and rushed upstairs. "Where are you, Jill?" I couldn't see her anywhere when I got upstairs. "I'm inside," the voice replied. "Where?" I asked. "Walk forward. I'm here behind the door." I started walking forward, only to realize that she's leading me towards the blue door. "I'm inside the blue room. Come inside with me. Open the door," the voice said happily. I was suspicious, so I asked, "Why are you inside? We're forbidden from going in there. You could get scolded or even beaten." "There's nothing bad inside. Just get in. It's fun," the voice once again replied happily. My gut feelings started going wild now, and something clicked in my head as I remembered the rule. Rule number 14. There is a room with a dark blue door at the end of the hallway. Do not approach the door or open it under any circumstances. You may hear voices calling out to you and begging you to help them. Simply ignore it. What is locked inside is beyond dangerous to be let outside. "That is not Jill," I whispered, but the thing behind the door heard. "It is me. I'm Jill. Just open the door," the voice said. "No." I took a step back. "Please, I'm in trouble." The voice changed its tone now. It sounded like it was about to cry. "Please, Amelia, help me." The voice started sobbing. "No, I won't. You're not Jill," I bravely said, which only caused the thing to start screaming. It shrieked so loud that I got dizzy immediately and stumbled back. Behind me, footsteps could be heard. A tug on my hair pulled me back to reality. "What do you think you're doing here?" Evangeline's non-changing voice asked. Before I could answer, she pushed me away. "I will make sure you stay without legs if I ever again see you near this door. Go away now." I just nodded and ran down the stairs, holding in my sobs. She was like a demon. Something seemed so eerie and scary about her in that moment, to the point that I actually believed she would rip off my legs. Even though her face was expressionless and her voice was the same, the aura was extremely dark and even demonic. You could basically sense how angry she was. I didn't tell this to my mom. She would scold me too. I decided to try acting like everything is okay and that it never happened. It seemed like the best way. Also, there was another thing that could cause me a lot of trouble if someone finds out. I managed to get inside Evangeline's bedroom. There's an unwritten rule that we don't come near her bedroom door because of that blue door at the end of the hallway, and also because she doesn't want us so close due to her wanting some privacy. Her door is always locked. I stayed home with her and Jill that day. Jill was sick and I wasn't in the mood to go with my mother to visit her high school friend. Maid Lizzie went to the doctor because she wasn't feeling so well. She's okay now, by the way. Jill was lying down in the guest room, wrapped up in blankets. She had a fever and later fell asleep. I talked with her before she got sleepy, and when she finally fell asleep, I decided to go to the library to find some interesting books that I could read. Evangeline went outside in the garden, I guess so we don't bother her. I made my way towards the stairs and started climbing. When I reached the top of the stairs, I immediately froze in place when I heard a sound. I literally stopped breathing just so I can hear it better. It sounded like quiet female moans. You couldn't tell if she was in pain or in pleasure. Also, the voice sounded familiar to that one I heard the day when I came close to the blue door. It could be heard from the end of the hallway, so I assumed it's the room again. I started walking forward while carefully listening. When I was at the entrance of the library, the voice started whispering, "Toby, you're hurting me." I stopped again, trying to hear. I wondered if I heard it right. And that voice, it sounded so damn familiar, but I just can't remember where I heard it. I started thinking about what it could be, but my thoughts were quickly interrupted by a song that started playing. Rule number 23. If the song Jeepers Creepers starts playing out of nowhere, dance until it stops. While dancing, always look straight ahead no matter what you see in the corner of your eye. If you only hear instrumentals of the song playing, hide. It's like the whole song could be heard throughout the house. It was so damn loud, louder than ever before. I knew what I had to do, so I started dancing despite feeling so creeped out and anxious. I hated this rule, and I hated when this happens more than anything. I tried focusing my vision in the hallway in front of me, despite seeing figures that looked like their skin was peeled off of them in the corners of my eyes. Luckily, this time it wasn't the instrumental playing. I also started to worry about Jill, who was sleeping downstairs. My concentration of the view in front of me got destroyed by a loud bang that came from behind me. It caused me to immediately turn around without thinking. I immediately realized what I did and deeply regretted it. I came face to face with a skinned female figure that had only long black hair. Her flesh was also rotting, and she smelled so disgusting that I could puke just by thinking about that smell. I don't know how I didn't notice the smell before. When my brain finally realized I'm in big trouble, I started backing away quickly while that creature started walking towards me and mumbling something. It sounded like she's speaking in some foreign language. I wanted to scream, but I just couldn't. The song was still playing, now louder than before. It started to hurt my ears. The creature came closer, and for a second, I thought that I would die. That's it. This is my end. I was backing away, expecting to fall down the stairs at any moment. The monster started to wheeze and reached for me. My fight signal started to work and I quickly grabbed one of those dolls from the shelf nearby and threw it at that thing. The doll basically bit the hand of the creature, causing it to screech loudly, and the song immediately stopped. I heard Jill scream from downstairs and I immediately turned around. When I looked back in front of me, the thing was gone and the doll was back on its place. I guess those dolls really are unfriendly, and they could have also harmed me, but I didn't have any other option. I rushed down to Jill, completely forgetting about the books in the library. I was so freaked out to the point I couldn't form a sentence. After everything calmed down, Evangeline came downstairs, which I considered as weird because I remember her going outside. Maybe I didn't see her when she entered. Maybe she used another door? This time I was in the living room, so it might be I didn't see her from here. I didn't want to tell her about the rules I broke. I could get myself in serious trouble. Luckily, I found a way to protect myself. Evangeline sat in a rocking chair and just closed her eyes while keeping the same facial expression. I didn't look at her for long because I felt like she knows I'm staring at her, even though her eyes were closed. "Can you stop staring at me?" Her voice shook me. "I'm sorry, I was basically looking through you. I got lost somewhere in my thoughts," I said, looking away. "All right," she responded, opening her eyes. "Is Jill getting better?" I was surprised that she was concerned about Jill's health. "Yeah, she's sleeping now," I looked back at her. "I can prepare her a tea that will help her." She looked at me without changing that blank expression of hers. "That's nice of you," I said, giving her a small smile while one part of me expected she'll show signs of emotions, but she never did. She looked the other way and stood up, slowly walking towards the exit, but she stumbled and almost fell. She gasped and grabbed the bookshelf for support. It looked like she was in pain. I never saw her like this before. Without thinking, I rushed to help her. When I grabbed her hand, trying to make her hold on to me for support, I almost gasped when I realized how skinny she is. My other hand touched her ribs and she flinched. I could basically touch her bones. I looked at her face to see if she changed her expression, but her blonde hair stopped me from seeing anything. "Evangeline, are you okay?" I asked, helping her stand up. "Yes, I just need some fresh air." She pushed my hands away and started walking towards the exit, then she turned around. "Thank you, Amelia." I just nodded, whispering, "You're welcome," and went back to my place on the sofa. I started thinking about her. I could still feel her underneath my fingers. She was basically skin and bones and always pale. I think it's extremely unhealthy. I also started to think how we don't see her eat much. She always eats the half of the plate. The other half she brings upstairs with herself or leaves in the kitchen. Could malnourishment be the cause of her dizziness? But she always ate like that, and this never happened to her. My thoughts were interrupted by a shiny object on the red carpet. When I looked at it, I realized it's a key. It must be the key to her bedroom. It fell out from the pocket of her dress. I picked it up and thought, maybe this is my chance to find out more. I looked at the key and then at the wall in front of me, thinking, should I do it? Evangeline isn't aware yet that she dropped her key, and so I could do it before she realizes. Also, it could get me in a lot of trouble if she sees me. I can't even imagine how bad it could be. My sisters and mom won't be back soon, and this is my chance before Evangeline decides to go in her room. I slowly took a couple of steps towards the stairs. I have a chance to do this, and my curiosity only grew. I don't want to let this chance slip. Who knows what I could find in her bedroom? I thought about how much I want answers, and there's no way I can destroy this chance. Also, who knows why the universe did this and why this is good? I started climbing up the stairs, trying to be quiet. I feared Evangeline would enter the house or her cat would notice me. Cordelia is basically a little devil that is so overprotective of its owner. I even tried to keep my breathing quiet because I started to breathe harder and faster for some annoying reason. When I was near her room, I started to feel chills all over my body, and my gut was telling me something isn't right. I was near that blue room. Her door was on the left side next to that blue door. Each time I came near it, I felt like this. Also, the fear of being caught overtook me and I started to shake slightly. I unlocked the door and opened it as quietly as I can. I had never seen Evangeline's bedroom before. It was also in Victorian style like the rest of the house. Her bed reminded me of those you see in movies in castles where royals sleep. The whole room had a couple of colors: dark red, black, red and white. I closed the door behind me and took a couple of steps forward. First, I looked around for Cordelia. Luckily, she wasn't in the room. That cat would probably attack me if she saw me here. I slowly but carefully walked towards the shelves that stood on my left. There were many books and notebooks. One shelf with CDs caught my attention. She had a whole collection of classical music while also having a bunch of death and black metal CDs. Part of me expected her to like classical music, but metal in combination with it was really weird and unpredictable in my opinion. Also, I never heard her play any music. The other shelf with books was also interesting to me. She had some of the books that I badly wanted to read. Notebooks were filled with drawings and weird symbols that I couldn't understand, which made me have more questions. When I finished looking through the shelves, I walked towards a desk with a mirror. There was her makeup and a bunch of Polaroid photos and drawings. I picked up the papers and observed the drawing. It was drawn with a black pencil, and everything had a couple of shades of black. On the paper was a boy with messy black hair and sheep horns on its head. His eyes were completely black and liquid dripped from his mouth that was filled with sharp teeth and a snake-like tongue that was also out of his mouth. His body was bony with blades coming out of his shoulders and upper arms. He also had black bat-like wings with blades at the end of them. His bony hands had big black claws. This creature was only drawn to the waist. Under that drawing were some weird symbols that I saw in one of those notebooks. It could be some weird art of hers, but this made me more curious when I saw one of the similar drawings on her altar. At the opposite side of the room, Evangeline had one more desk with candles, plants, crystals, oils, tarot cards, and other things. A big pentagram made out of sticks hanged on the wall above it. She also had a statue of the thing she drew standing at the center of the table along with a couple of drawings of the same creature. Now I could see it whole. It was bare with only one cloth covering its private parts. The statue was black like the drawing. This made me realize that it's not some drawing. This is a really important thing. Looking at that desk, I observed everything and something came to my mind which made me shiver. This woman is a witch. She possessed more power than I imagined and she could easily curse us all. One part of me kind of expected this because she was extremely creepy, while the other part found it really scary. She's probably working with that thing and worshipping it. I put the drawing back on the desk, but the Polaroid photos caught my attention. I slowly picked them up while turning around to see if someone was about to enter the room. The photos were more weird. They were taken in the dark and only a couple of things could be visible. In some photos, I only made out male figures in the corner and chains that were on the floor. I put them back like I found them and decided to look more because I have a chance. Who knows when I'll get another opportunity like this again. Just when I started to put the photos down, I noticed something shining through the black lace material that was also on the desk. I moved it aside and saw 4 different keys attached to one chain. The cabinet I found in the library immediately came to my mind. These are the keys. Without hesitation, I took the keys and put the material back in the place where I found it. With the keys in my hand, I went through Evangeline's clothes expecting to find something else, but the only thing I found was the fact that her dresses were all really small. Then I remembered how bony she felt underneath my fingers. When I finished looking through her clothes, I felt some urge to check her bed. I don't know what made me do it, but I felt like something more was hiding there. When I moved the blanket, I almost gasped. The white sheets had dried blood on some places. Some places also looked fresh. I got chills running down my body and immediately put everything back in the place that had found it. I decided to get out of her room, lock it, and put the key back in the spot on the floor where I found it. I'll pretend like I was never in this room. When I was locking the door, I looked around a couple of times to make sure no one saw me. As I took a step forward, the rustling of chains behind me made me speed up and rush down the stairs with 4 or 5 keys in my hands. I put the key back down on the floor and sat on the sofa. I need to unlock that cabinet now when no one else is in the house. I don't know when else I'll have this chance and how long it'll take for Evangeline to notice. I was about to stand up when I smelled decomposing flesh. The stench was disgusting and I immediately shivered knowing what it means. I quickly sat back on the sofa and covered my eyes with my hands. Silent growling could be heard from the stairs and I started to shake. One wrong move and I'll be a meal for that monster. The growling got louder and I knew it entered the living room. I was slightly shaking at that point. This was one of the worst rules. You could literally feel the creature rub against you and you shouldn't even flinch or else you're dead meat. I knew that thing was getting closer to me, expecting me to move so it can grab me with its multiple mouths. I let out a quiet sob when it touched my leg. I must stay calm and not move. Its hand was on my knee now, and I felt like I was going to die. This is, I don't even know the number, near-death experience. The smell was unbearable and I could puke, but I needed to stay put. At that moment, when I felt like it was it, the smell faded away and I was free to open my eyes. My hands were wet from my tears and I sobbed a couple of times. God, I hate this place. I want to leave it as soon as possible. The keys on my lap reminded me that I needed to calm down and go to the library. I quickly wiped away my tears and rushed up the stairs. Evangeline still wasn't in the house, so this is my chance. The key of the library hanged on the wall next to the door, so I quickly went inside and locked myself in. I rushed towards the hidden cabinet while thinking about how much time I have. When I moved away the figures and material, my hands were shaking and I quickly unlocked all 4 locks. Inside, I found a bunch of papers and 2 bags with stuff. On a couple of papers was written, "Mommy loves you. Be a good girl and give me your wrist. Mommy cuts you because she loves you. The true love is shown in blood." Other papers had insults on them such as brat, whore, bitch, useless rat, ugly pig that needs to be sliced from bottom to head. There were also sentences such as, "You are the one to blame for his death. He couldn't stand the devil he had as a child." The first thing that went through my mind was that this had to have something to do with Evangeline's parents. Her dad died when she was a little girl. They had a small funeral with only a couple of people, and her mother told us that he died from a heart attack. What these papers say obviously has something to do with Evangeline and her family. Otherwise, why would she keep them here hidden as something important? In these sentences with Mommy, was my aunt abusive towards her? Or did she write this for another reason? What if this isn't hers at all? The more things I found, the more questions I had. It's like a magic circle with no end. I pulled one of the bags and a couple of photos fell out. There were photos of Evangeline when she was a little girl, only in the photos with both of her parents as a baby. She looked so full of life. In other photos when she was growing up, her eyes were lifeless. I grabbed another bag when I finished looking through the photos and I found a voodoo doll resembling a female with black hair. I don't know who this doll is, but I know that Evangeline put a curse on it with voodoo magic. Whoever wronged her here is suffering terribly based on the number of needles that were put in the doll. "Amelia," my mother's voice called suddenly. Oh shit. I mumbled and started putting everything back as fast as I can. I locked the cabinet and grabbed some book pretending I was reading it. "Amelia," she shouted again. "Yes, I'm in the library." I rushed to unlock the door in case she wanted to get in. I heard her walking towards the door and I tried to control my shaking hands and fast breathing. "My friend gave you some nice things you can wear if you want," she said when she opened the door. "I'll try them," I said, lifting my head from my book. I really hope she didn't see anything suspicious. "Okay, lunch will be ready soon," she added while turning around. "Okay," I said, looking back at my book. I didn't read anything. I was thinking about things I saw. One of the problems now was how will I return these keys? Someone probably saw Evangeline's key on the carpet. I walked out of the library, downstairs to the living room when I noticed the key shining on the carpet. Thank God. I took the keys and rushed upstairs while being careful. I entered the room and put the key back where I found it. I also threw that bedroom key on the carpet, pretending that I don't know anything. Soon after, Evangeline came in the house. When she saw me, she immediately asked, "Do you know where my bedroom key is?" "Your bedroom key?" I asked, trying to sound surprised. "I don't know." "It's not in my pocket." She took a step back and stepped on the key, which caused her to look down. "There it is. Probably fell out of my pocket." I nodded and continued to look at my book. Thank God she didn't notice. I still had really strange, anxious thoughts that she would know, but I tried to push them away. She went upstairs, leaving me alone in the living room again to think about everything and analyze every little detail.